and there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and Merry Christmas to you. And welcome to the final Cowboy State Politics broadcast for this Christmas season. Welcome to the program, my friends. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the only silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Merry Christmas. It is by far my favorite time of year. And, you know, if you spend any time around me at all, I really get into this whole Christmas thing. It's, I think I told you before that in my family, there's all sorts of Christmas hijinks that happen. A lot of deception, some subterfuge. I mean, you can't really let on what people are getting. I mean, you don't want to give them just a flat envelope if the only thing you got them was a gift card to their favorite store, which, by the way, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you know that somebody has a favorite store, but you don't exactly know what to get them, well, I mean, get them a gift card. I'm okay with that. But traditionally, you know, I would probably not be the person that would do that. I'd go find something that I thought my loved one would want, and I would just get it for them. And, you know, and here's another thing to think about too, that Christmas is not all about stuff. Christmas, I mean, we're celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I mean, that's the whole point of the season. Like tomorrow, we're going to go to the Christmas Eve service at our church. It's always really lovely. And it's our first Christmas in our new church. So this one ought to be particularly special. But, you know, a lot of people call it the reason for the season. And the reason for the Christmas season is Jesus Christ. But I'd like to posit another view. Now, while his birth was absolutely miraculous, I mean, he was born, it is the virgin birth, and it's God's son sent to earth to take care of all of our sins. So that's pretty miraculous. But I would posit that maybe the things that he did after he was born are a little bit more important. I think that too often we get caught up on, you know, just his birth, and we don't think about all of the incredible miracles that he performed and what he actually did while he was here. Something to think about. Now, you've probably gotten the idea that I'm not entirely into politics right now. I mean, it never really leaves my mind, but you know, today of all days, I am just I'm not going through the motions. I want to have some fun today, but I'm really ready to move on with Christmas and forget about a lot of this politics stuff. But, you know, like I always say, if you're not paying attention to politics, politics is paying attention to you. Now, we begin this morning with a bit of sad news. It's always sad when one of your childhood heroes passes away. And you'll notice that I'm wearing the Oakland Athletics cap, which the Oakland Athletics do not exist anymore. They've moved to Las Vegas. But my all-time baseball hero is Rickey Henderson, and he passed away over the weekend at the age of 65. I haven't seen yet exactly what it was, but there were some reports that he had been suffering from pneumonia. Well, anyway, he passed away. He is by far the greatest base runner of all time. He's got the stolen base record, and out of my entire baseball card collection, I've got way more Ricky Henderson cards than anybody else. I was a little bit obsessed, you might say, in my younger days when when baseball card collecting was at the height of was on the top of my agenda, and it was always the Ricky Henderson card that I was looking for. And all young boys, when they play baseball, they think that they're going to be in the major leagues, and I was no exception. I thought that I was going to be the next Ricky Henderson. The problem being is that I could not hit as good as Ricky Henderson, and I was not nearly as fast as Ricky Henderson. So the major leagues, probably not in my future, as you can obviously tell. But nonetheless, Ricky Henderson, he was my baseball hero. I've still, if you look around the studio, and of course I don't have a camera yet set up so you can see the whole studio, but there's several Ricky Henderson baseball cards in the baseball card case. And so anyway, sad day for me. Rest in peace, Ricky Henderson. It's actually a sad day for baseball too. I mean, he played baseball during a different era when, base running, and I mean, base running is obviously still a big thing, but there was way more emphasis that was put on stolen bases than there is now. I mean, somebody steals a base, and now it's kind of like an afterthought. Oh, look, he stole a base. Back then, Ricky Henderson was stealing over 100 bases a year, which I don't know of anybody that's come close to that. I think that and I'll have to look up his record for stolen bases in his career. Well, when he broke Lou Brock's record, it was 939, but it's well over 1,000 when he finally retired. So anyway, rest in peace, my childhood hero, Ricky Henderson. There's an interesting piece this morning in Breitbart News, and it's entitled, Cyprus President Appoints Special Representative for Religious Freedoms to Protect Christians and Other Minorities in the Middle East. Now, of all places, I don't think that you would expect this type of special representative to be appointed. I mean, you might see like the special representative of Islam, but not. I mean, to have one to look out for the interests of Christians, that really wasn't on the top of my list. But in any case, the president of Cyprus has appointed a special representative for religious freedoms. And let's read into this a little bit. And I quote, the president of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulides, and I'm guessing that I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know if I am. He told Breitbart News exclusively on Sunday that he is appointing a new special representative of his government for religious freedoms to focus on protecting Christians and other religious minorities throughout the Middle East. Now, if you are unaware, Christians across the globe are being slaughtered at an extraordinary rate. Historical Christian sites have been destroyed in many countries in the Middle East, and all of it is at the hands of the rising Islam. I guess the fundamentalist Islamic leadership of those countries, if you can call it leadership. But there's a lot of assaults going on against Christians right now. Quote, recognizing the critical importance of protecting religious freedoms and supporting minorities in the Middle East, I decided to proceed with this appointment. Christodoulides said in a phone interview on Sunday, quote, we aim to work for the protection of Christians and other minorities through dialogue with states in the region and neighboring countries to strengthen their rights and promote sustainable solutions to the challenges they face, but also to raise awareness in the European Union of this issue and to support the European Union's efforts on taking under consideration the rights of these religious groups in our region. The appointment, per an announcement the government will release on Monday, is for Tessalia Salina Shambos, currently the political director of Cyprus's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the nation's former ambassador to Israel, will serve as a special representative of the Republic of Cyprus for religious freedoms and protection of minorities in the Middle East. The announcement, of course, comes right before Christmas, and it is welcome news for Christians throughout the Middle East who have long faced difficulty, but even more so now with the fall of Bashar al-Assad's regime in Syria and heightened hostilities between Israel and Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon. Both Christodoulides and Cyprus's foreign minister Christianos Kambos told Breitbart News they look forward to working with President-elect Donald Trump, Vice President-elect J.D. Vance, and the Secretary of State-designate Marco Rubio on religious freedom matters next year. Now, I bring this up because there is, and it's specifically during this time of year. I've noticed a couple of different articles, and they're always in the liberal rags, about how we have a separation of church and state, and how we can't have Christmas trees in schools because that's going to be mean to some other religions, and that this isn't a Christian nation, nor was it ever. I mean, all of that bull crap. But the truth is that America was founded as a Christian nation, and if you know anything about our founding documents, and if you're at least halfway well read in the Bible, you can absolutely see the Christian themes that run throughout our founding documents. Even the least religious of our founding fathers, I mean, I would say it was probably Benjamin Franklin, though some people would say it was Thomas Jefferson. Even the least religious of them even asked to pray numerous times at the Constitutional Convention, and that was Benjamin Franklin. So don't tell me that there wasn't a Christian influence in the beginnings of our country. George Washington was a profoundly religious guy. One of my favorite paintings is the one, and I'm not a big art connoisseur, so I can't tell you who the artist is in any of these paintings. But one of my favorite ones is George Washington kneeling and praying with his horse in the background. I absolutely love that one. But it is undeniable that George Washington was a profoundly religious guy. If you read any of his Thanksgiving proclamation or his proclamation for Day of Prayer or any of those things, he is profoundly deferential to God, to Jesus, to his own faith. So, I mean, any suggestion that America is not a Christian country is poppycock. It's not true at all. And I know I said this, and by the way, before I forget, make sure that you don't miss today's Christmas special on the podcast. I just published it about 30 minutes ago. It's great. It's a conversation with me, Representative Mark Jennings, and our pal Charlie Cole. And we're talking about all of the religious artifacts that have been uncovered recently, what they mean. And, the conversation kind of trails from there. But it's a great episode. You definitely don't want to miss it. Also, make sure that you don't forget about the Cowboy State Politics Christmas Story. That's going to be published tomorrow. It's the tradition here at the program. Every Christmas, I do a Christmas Eve story. And this year, it's an oldie but a goodie, and it's one that I haven't told before. And I've been told that we'll have a special guest during the Christmas story. So make sure that you don't forget about that. It'll be published at 10 a.m. tomorrow. So anyway, back on what I was talking about, that America absolutely is a Christian country. It always has been. And there are forces that are at work to make you believe that we are not a Christian country. There are, and everywhere you look, there was a story in Minnesota where the Satanists put up a display in the Capitol there in Minnesota, and that display mysteriously vanished. Somebody took it down, and then, wouldn't you know, it's put back up. Well, Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota, and of course he said, well, it's free speech. We have to allow it in our state's capital. And one of the questions I posed to Representative Jennings on the podcast was, do you think that we would see something like that in our state's capital down in Cheyenne? Do you think that there's a possibility that we would see the Satanists put up a display? And his answer was no, but there are avowed Satanists that are in the Capitol, and one of those happens to be, as Joey calls them, Grand Dragon Satan Socks, Tate Mullen, the lobbyist for the Education Association. So, I mean, there are Satanists running around, though probably wouldn't see one of those displays in our state's capital. But you would think in a country like America that we would try better to protect our religious freedoms. And I think that many people just kind of take it for granted that, we have the First Amendment and therefore you have the right to practice. Well, there are cities across the country that have been taken over by Muslim populations. The classic example of that is Dearborn, Michigan, where the midday prayers are broadcast over an extraordinarily loud loudspeaker. There are big cities like London, whose mayor was big time Muslim. So I mean, it is not something that you should take for granted that our country is a Christian nation, and don't let anybody tell you that it's not. When you walk into the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C., there's paintings all the way around the thing. And in every single one of those paintings, there's someone praying or there's a Bible, or there's some other religious scene. And that's in in the Capitol building. The largest church in Washington, D.C. for over 100 years was the Capitol building itself. Over 9 denominations practiced every single Sunday right in the Capitol building. So, again, don't tell me that we're not a Christian nation and that we weren't started that way, because we absolutely were. Well, let's go ahead and take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about how CNN is going after dads who want to buy their kids guns. We'll do that in just a second. Our Christmas would not be complete unless we had the liberals going after our guns. So we'll do that in just a second. But first, an absolutely outrageous profit timeout. Are listening to Cowboy State Politics Live on the Independence Network. You're not going to find a better source of news, information, and entertainment than right here on the Independence Network. Now, we're making a few changes, moving a couple things around, out with the old and in with the new, and that whole spiel. Of course, you could listen to my program, The Ramble Room with Ken Pendergraft, Locked and Loaded with the good Representative Tony Locke from Casper. There's a whole bunch more coming on the Independence Network. Also, don't forget to check out the articles section at the website, independencenetwork.us. It's loaded with op-eds, commentary, and news from all around the Cowboy State. You can listen to the Cowboy State Politics podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, really any of them will work. But the easiest place is just to go to the website, cowboystatepolitics.com. There you can find all of the shows, as well as any of the articles that I might bring up during the course of a program. That way, if your name is Joe Biden and you can't remember if you had your pudding today, well, I probably can't help you with that, but I can definitely tell you why you should have never ran for president. And now, back to our program. Welcome back to the program, my friends. David Iverson behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone. Merry, Merry Christmas to you and all of your families. Welcome back to the program, my friends. David Iverson on Cowboy State Politics, the last broadcast before Christmas. If you hadn't listened to the Cowboy State Politics Christmas special, make sure that you do that. It's fantastic. I think it's a great show. I went ahead and opened up the phone lines. If you want to talk about, if you want to be part of the program, the phone number is 307-374-8989, 307-374-8989. If you'd like to be part of the program, go ahead and give me a call. I'll just leave the phone lines open all program long, and if there's something you want to talk about, well, give me a jingle, and we'll talk about it. Now, any Christmas program would not be complete unless we talked about the great Maharishi. Rush Limbaugh's favorite holiday was Christmas, and it started, he would get going at the beginning of December, and he'd play Mannheim Steamroller all the way through Christmas. And then, of course, he had his Christmas message at the end of his broadcast, the last one that he would do before Christmas. Now, I'm not a big fan of Mannheim Steamroller. I am, however, a big fan of Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Man, if you get a chance to go watch them in concert, you should absolutely do that. I haven't been able to, but you watch the concerts on YouTube or whatever, and I would love to go. I think they were in Denver last year, the year before, and I meant to buy tickets to it, and I never did. Really disappointed because this year they're nowhere to be found. They're not even anywhere close to Wyoming. But when they come back, I can assure you that I'll definitely be there. So, in honor of the great Maharishi, a little Christmas music from Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Now, I don't know if Rush Limbaugh would approve of Trans-Siberian Orchestra, but I mean, it's my favorite band at Christmas, and it's okay. So I've got a really big thing for Frank Sinatra too, but when it comes to playing Christmas music on the program, my go-to Christmas is Trans-Siberian Orchestra. CNN has recently gone all in to shame dads out of buying hunting rifles for sons. Now, this is a Christmas tradition. At least it was in my family. Now, I didn't get a hunting rifle, but I did receive a couple of guns for Christmas, a couple varieties. But apparently CNN is all in for it. And I quote, less than a week after a 15-year-old girl shot and killed two at a Madison, Wisconsin Christian school, CNN went all in to shame fathers out of buying hunting rifles for their sons. And I quote, Breitbart News noted the alleged Abundant Life Christian school shooter used a handgun, and Madison Chief of Police Sean Barnes later said that she actually had two handguns in her possession. CNN reported that the origins of the two handguns in the girl's possession have been traced but cannot be made public at this time because of an ongoing investigation. 6 days after the shooting, CNN rolled out a piece targeting parents who buy their sons or daughters firearms with which to hunt. CNN began the article with a story of an Oregon dad, Paul Camp, who bought a hunting rifle for his son, Nathan, when he turned 16 years old. Nathan had been hunting with his dad since he was 7. CNN then stated, quote, parents looking to purchase a firearm for their child for the holidays have to balance their hopes for the gift with the risks that come with such a purchase, such as an accidental shooting, suicide, or the gun being used in a crime. In an attempt to bolster their position, CNN said, quote, for example, the teenage school shooting suspects in Oxford, Michigan and Winder, Georgia, allegedly used firearms they had received as Christmas gifts from their parents, and those parents have faced criminal charges. Now, the so-called news outlet did not mention that the gun used in the Oxford incident was a handgun, not a hunting rifle, and that the gun used in the Winder incident was a gun the father gave the son while allegedly not monitoring the son's access to it. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation noted that the charges against the father in the Winder incident, quote, stem from knowingly allowing his son to possess a weapon. First of all, the best form of gun control in this country is teaching your children a healthy respect for firearms, that they are tools, not toys. That to raise your children with firearms, that is the best way to teach them a healthy respect for it and to prevent any sort of misuse of guns in the future. Now, when I grew up, I mean, it's as you might have imagined, there was an arsenal in the house. But we were taught from a very young age that guns are a tool. They're not toys. They're not to play with. They're not to mess with, and that you leave them in the gun cabinet until it's time to go shoot, to go hunting or to go to the range or whatever. But it's not something that you toy with around the house because, quite frankly, they're not toys. And so if we allow parents to teach their children a healthy respect for firearms, That's going to translate later in life to where you're not going to see as many of these gun incidents. But since the time that we taught gun safety in school, and make no mistake, that was absolutely a thing, all the way through the 1970s. You can go look at old school textbooks, and there's there's an episode I did in the first year of Cowboy state politics. And it was like Biden's gun control tyranny or something like that. But anyway, there's a segment in that episode where I talk about school textbooks that showed how to clean a gun and how to sight it properly and how to take care of it. And there was also a discussion by David Barton from Wall Builders, how many schools had indoor firing ranges. So absolutely a thing up until, the fairly recent past. Now, the question is, and I wonder this a lot, that are there any more school shootings now than there were before, or is it just that the heightened media attention to it makes it seem like there are more? I would argue, and I've done a little bit of research into this, but I'm by no means an expert on the statistics. If you want an expert, you should go look into Dr. John Lott Jr. I mean, he is the gun statistics guy, but I don't remember seeing a lot of instances where there were, mass shootings, in the 80s and 70s. Now, there was that incident in Cokeville, but that was a bomb, and that wasn't a student. That was some crazy person that took over the school and tried to blow it up. By the way, there's a fascinating documentary about that whole incident. And in the break, I'll see if I can find the title of the movie, but absolutely a miracle that happened in Cokeville, Wyoming. But again, not an instance of a school shooting. But I'm sure CNN would latch onto it and say that it was. CNN concluded the article by repeating the false claim that guns are the leading cause of death for U.S. children. This false statement has been pushed by the Biden administration, Vice President Kamala Harris, and numerous Hollywood leftists. The claim is based on numbers which include people of voting age, 18 to 19-year-olds, as children. In reality, on May 26th of 2022, Breitbart News noted that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention numbers show unintentional car deaths among people aged 0 to 19 were 27 times higher than unintentional gun deaths with the same group. So if you want to keep people from dying, I suggest that you outlaw cars, because more people die in automobile accidents than in gun deaths. And as it relates to firearms and concealed carry, the safest group of people, that is the constituency, I hate it when you're in the middle of a program and you lose the word you're looking for. But anyway, concealed carry owners have a lower rate of crime than even the police. It is absolutely documented that people who carry concealed weapons are extraordinarily law-abiding, even more so than the police. So don't tell me that guns cause crime. Don't tell me that concealed carry owners are going to increase violence. The best gun control that you can provide is to teach your kids a healthy respect for firearms, and for you adults, gun control means using both hands. Now, there's a story brewing in the Democrat Party about one of their massive fundraisers. Now, all parties have people that are just geniuses, or genii. I don't know if there's a plural of geniuses, but anyway, that have their respective power fundraisers. And one of them in the Democrat Party is a lady named Lindy Lee, from Fox News. And I quote, "Former Harris surrogate, Biden hasn't been cognitively fit for years. My relative said, quote, we're effed after meeting him." On Friday's broadcast of the Fox News channel Fox News at Night, former Kamala Harris campaign surrogate Lindy Lee stated that President Joe Biden has not been cognitively fit to assume the duties of the Oval Office for a number of years now, and that one of her relatives reacted to meeting the president earlier this year by stating, quote, "We're effed." Here is that little piece on Fox News. You can listen to Lindy Lee yourself.
Some insight into all this political turmoil tonight from a member of the Harris National Finance Committee, Pennsylvania Commissioner Lindy Lee, and former senior counsel at the EPA, Attorney Samantha Dravis, and attorney and RNC surrogate, Mahek Cook. So great to have you all with us. I want to begin by playing a bit of a montage. We've all been hearing people, certainly here in Washington, ask the question, where's Waldo? Or in this case, where is Joe Biden? Listen to that. I'll get your reaction on the other side.
And why hasn't President Biden said anything in the public about this? Why haven't we seen or heard from President Biden himself?
This is a strategy that we have done many times before, not the first time.
I'll go at the question another way. In this moment, is the president leading?
The president is the president of the United States, and he is leading. And to be very clear, as it relates to this,
The president is leading as it relates to this. All right, Lindy. That's a tough call. You're a Democrat, and yet I'm sure that there are a number of Democrats around the country that are saying, you know, as long as he is not forcefully leading, he is not leading. What say you?
Kevin, let's just be very honest what's happening here. The president has not been cognitively fit to assume the duties of the Oval Office for a number of years now, and it breaks my heart to say it, because I know President Biden, and I love the man, but he is in no shape or form able to carry out the duties that the commander-in-chief requires, and it's just devastating. And we saw that confirmed by the Wall Street Journal expose yesterday, and also many exposés in the New York Times, in the Washington Post, over and over again, how his inner circle is actively covering for him and stepping up to the plate because he simply cannot. And I hosted him on May 1st here in D.C. And I remember one of my family members saying, after interacting with President Biden, they said, oh, we're blank, we're effed.
Samantha, I mean, those are strong words, but I think they...
There you have it from one of the Democrats themselves. We are effed, or the Democrats are effed, and absolutely they were. Kamala Harris got trounced, and rightfully so. Let's go ahead and take a call. My old pal, George Dunlap. George, Merry Christmas, man.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm right in the middle of the Christmas swing. How about yourself?
Oh, we're doing great. Right now, I'm at the airport down in Phoenix, actually in Mesa, but getting ready to fly home. We've been at AmFest, the Charlie Kirk program, and man, it was fantastic.
So I thought. I wish I could have been there. What was your favorite part?
Well, Tom Holman, without a doubt, but of course, Trump's always great, but Tom was something else. It was fun. There was, I'll tell you what, America is back. It is back, no doubt about it.
I couldn't agree more with you, George. You know, it's really, he hasn't done anything yet. I mean, he's not the president yet. And there is a palpable feeling of optimism in just about everybody that I run into. And, you know, even Democrats I know up here that said, there's actually some people in Sheridan that said, I'm leaving the country if Trump wins the election. Well, they're making appointments and hair appointments with the lovely Christine, and they haven't left the country yet. So evidently they think there's reason to be optimistic also.
Oh, yeah. And you know, everywhere, 2 years ago, it was, you didn't hear Merry Christmas everywhere. No matter where we went out to eat, not just at AmFest, but everywhere. It was Merry Christmas everywhere. It's exciting. I'll tell you what, the attitude of the country has changed.
Well, and you know, when you compare the Biden administration to previous administrations, even like Jimmy Carter, it seems like the country gets in what Jimmy Carter called a malaise. When, you know, the president's not really doing that good of a job. And I think that's absolutely the case with Joe Biden. And I couldn't agree with you more. Like everywhere I go, it is Merry Christmas. People are happy. And I even talked to a guy that owns a jewelry store here in Sheridan. I mean, he's a big time guy in the Republican Party here in Sheridan. And he even said that even though Trump hasn't done anything, he's seen an increase in his business. So, you know, when people are happy, they spend more money for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. You know, down here, we had some great things. We had, of course, Nina Wemmer was down here, and then Gabe Saint from the University of Wyoming. He ran for the president of the school there, didn't get it, but he was given an award by Charlie Kirk. It was pretty cool. But it was great. Every speaker just talked very positive, and they feel that we're going to have a great at least 18 months, if not next 4 years.
Absolutely. And, you know, just watching on social media, there was a pretty good size Wyoming contingent there.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Yep.
Well, George, you're headed back home for Christmas? You're going to spend it here in Wyoming, or are you going to stay around on one of your adventures?
Nope. We're heading home. We're meeting we're having Christmas out at a ranch on the 24th. We're going to go out and the plan originally was they were sleigh riding. I don't think the kids are sleigh riding this year. And then my son from Buffalo, that's a pastor, he of course works on Sunday, and so he and my daughter, who works for the church here in Gillette, we're gonna do ours on the 29th. So we're gonna have Christmas 3 times this year, which is great. But no, it's great. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Hope everything is great for you, and we still have to get together.
Yes, we do. I believe you still owe me a steak, if I'm not mistaken.
I do owe you a steak, and I'll text you about that after we get off the air.
All right, George. You have a Merry Christmas. Have a safe trip home.
Hey, you have a blessed day. Thank you very much. Tell the tomato hi for me.
I will. Merry Christmas. If you want to be part of the program, the phone lines are open. The number here in the studio is 307-374-8989, 307-374-8989. It's, the America Fest, I loved watching all the different sound bites and clips from it, and just all of the people from Wyoming that attended that thing. And I you know what I need to do is I need to set up an interview with Gabe Saint. You guys would really like him. I mean, he is. I've talked with him a number of times. I think he is an absolute powerhouse at the University of Wyoming. And honestly, had it not been for Gabe Saint, I don't think that we would have been as successful of getting rid of DEI and all the woke crap at the University of Wyoming that we did. I mean, he has done an amazing job building the Turning Point chapter at the University of Wyoming. I mean, I really like the guy. And anyway, I'll try to get an interview with him so we can talk to him. We'll have more after the break. You can listen to Cowboy State Politics live every Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. on the Independence Network. Make sure that you subscribe and follow the Cowboy State Politics podcast. You can do that from the website, cowboystatepolitics.com, or anywhere that you get your podcasts. That way, you'll make sure that you won't miss a single episode of Cowboy State Politics. Cowboy State Politics is sponsored by FreedomGoldUSA.com. They are the working man's gold company. The economy is in turmoil. The stock market pretty much is out of control, and you never know what's going to happen with your finances or your income. One way that you can shore up everything is by investing in gold and silver. Go to freedomgoldusa.com/David for a free interview to discuss your options and find out if gold or silver is right for you. One more time, that's freedomgoldusa.com/David. Welcome back to the program. Very Merry Christmas from me and the lovely Christine. You're listening to Cowboy State Politics Live, and this is the last broadcast for this Christmas season. We'll pick it up probably on Friday, maybe Thursday. I don't know. It depends on how I'm feeling, if I have had enough Christmas. But welcome back to the program anyway. By the way, another totally shameless plug. make sure that you don't miss the 2 Christmas episodes of Cowboy State Politics on the podcast. The first one is today's Christmas special. I'm really proud of it. I think it is an incredible discussion. You might learn something from it, and it's just a great discussion between me, Mark Jennings, and our pal Charlie Cole. And then don't miss tomorrow's Christmas story that's going to be published at 10 a.m. It's a tradition on Cowboy State Politics, and this year it's an oldie but a goodie, and there's going to be a special guest to help me do the Christmas story. So that'll be published tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the podcast. Now, before we talk to our pal George Dunlap, we were discussing Lindy Lee, and I think that she's I think that we should talk about her because she is one of the main fundraisers for the Democrat Party, or she was, raised millions upon millions of dollars. And she claims that she's one of the ones that was pretty much lied to by the Harris campaign. Oh, no. Harris has got this thing in the bag. The polls are showing she's way ahead. Oh, and Joe Biden, yeah, he's fine. Don't worry about him. He's just doing his lunchbox Joe thing. Don't worry about it at all. Well, when the whole thing was done and over with, Kamala Harris got trounced in a landslide. And after the debate, it's obvious that Joe Biden hasn't been in possession of his faculties for a really long time. Well, there's another piece on Fox News talking about Lindy Lee, and this one's entitled DNC Powerhouse Fundraiser Announces Exit from Democrat Party Following Attacks. Quote, it's like leaving a cult. Well, of course it is, because the Democrat Party is a religion. I mean, it bears all of the hallmarks of a religion, belief in things that can't be substantiated. And I mean, they do have a religious following that you can present the Democrats with all types of evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt as to why they're wrong, and you won't get them to sway at all. Take Adam Shifty Schiff, for example. There was plenty of evidence that he was full of crap, that he didn't have any evidence of a collusion between Donald Trump and Russia, and yet he continued to spout the lie. Oh, I have absolute evidence of collusion. Of course, he has so much evidence that he can't show anybody. But anyway, Lindy Lee said she was ostracized from the party and labeled a whore after criticizing Kamala Harris. And I quote, Fox News at Night panelists, let's see here. No. On Fox News at Night, prominent Democrat National Committee powerhouse fundraiser Lindy Lee announced that she is leaving the Democrat Party, which she referred to as a cult, after facing an onslaught of internal attacks for criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris last week. Lee, a Democrat strategist, served as both a surrogate for Harris and a member of the DNC's National Fundraising Committee, where she raised tens of millions of dollars on behalf of Democrat candidates. She also frequently appeared on the air to stump for Harris's 2024 presidential campaign. Lee became the target of the left's attacks earlier this month when she expressed support for President-elect Donald Trump's defense secretary nominee, Pete Hegseth. It was the party's vitriolic response to a subsequent appearance on Fox News that pushed her rightward, she said on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Now, I have a piece from that Piers Morgan program, and it starts with that same audio soundbite that you heard in the first one. It's Kamala Harris, and I mean, her inane blather at the beginning. But just give it a second, and then it'll go into Piers Morgan talking with Lindy Lee. Here you go.
You have had some rest. In fact, I challenge you to come back ready to chart our path to the future. Chin up, shoulders back, forever impatient for change.
I mean, Lindy, no disrespect to her, because she's a perfectly nice woman. She would not inspire me to open a bag of chips. I mean, seriously. And I think that she sort of personifies now the ghost of Christmas past, as does Biden. The Democrats have got to move on quickly, haven't they?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. She's indulging delusions of running for governor in California in 2026 and perhaps even running for president in 2020. And I just want to echo what a lot of you guys already said. This past week has been harrowing for me. This Saturday, I went on Fox and Friends and I said that Democrats have a stench of loser hanging over them.
Yeah.
as soon as I said that, there were boycott campaigns against me, unblock, unfollow campaigns. I lost 40,000 followers.
Really?
In 4 days. People have called me the W word. I don't know what we're allowed to say, but you can fill in the blank.
We're uncensored. Let's say it. Say it. Say what the word was.
Am I allowed to?
Yeah.
Well, they called me a whore. They called me the C word. They asked for me to be deported. And you can just search for my name in those terms on X and you'll see a bunch of them. So, all these so-called Democrats, the party of inclusion, the party of diversity, masks off. And it's even worse because they pretend to occupy the moral high ground. At least with Republicans, they are who they are. But with Democrats, they pretend to be, so loving and caring and embracing of diversity. But all of a sudden, when I dare to utter any criticisms of the goddess, Kamala Harris, I get ostracized. Me, after having raised tens.
Okay, all right, that's enough of that. Well, it's absolutely, the Democrat Party is like a cult. And to be entirely fair here, there are portions of the Republican Party that are very, 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 very similar. You criticize a guy who just became the president of the Senate, and then you'll have all sorts of stuff said about you online. A lot of it's untrue, and it makes me laugh. But anyway, there are portions of the Republican Party that act like a cult too. And it's all of these folks that have blind allegiance to their own political ideology or their own political tribe. I mean, really, political parties, both the Democrat and the Republican Party, in many ways act very tribalistic. And I'm talking about, the extreme right, actually it'd be over here, the extreme right of the Republican Party, very tribalistic, that if you disagree with any of them, well, you have to be ostracized and we have to shut you up. But the truth is that if you have the courage of your convictions and if you understand the arguments and the reason why that the Republican Party has the right answers, then you can articulate them. It doesn't matter if one person is wrong in one case or another. I mean, that happens. I mean, let me give you an example. There was a gun bill last year that would have ostensibly, at least ostensibly, I mean, the title said that it prevented credit card companies from tracking your gun and ammunition purchases. But when you read the text of the bill, it was crap, man. The only thing it said is the Attorney General may prosecute. So there was no reason for credit card companies not to track your gun purchases whatsoever. I mean, it didn't do anything. It was just a nice title, and the bill got passed. And of course, Gordon signed it because it didn't have any teeth. Well, you criticize that bill, and then the advocates of it, which obviously they're out of their mind or they didn't even read the bill, they come after you simply because you're not towing the party line. Well, my friends, the Republican Party can't act. We can't function like the Democrats. The Democrats live in a world where they believe things that just aren't true. They believe they have policies that don't work. Well, they work until they run out of other people's money. I mean, look at the national debt. I think we're over $36 trillion now. And, they believe in all this woke crap, things that, that men can become women and women can become men. Things are just biologically untrue. And when you do something like a great example, the Dr. Cuban, he was on the Wyoming Medical Board because he expressed support for Chloe's law. Well, then the governor kicked him off the board. Well, that's ridiculous, right? We have to be able to articulate our arguments. And if our arguments have substance to them and if they are credible, well, yeah, we'll use them. But just because you're a Democrat or a Republican doesn't mean that you're right. It means that you're a Democrat or a Republican. It's the force of the ideas that carry the weight, and you have to be able to articulate those arguments. And, I was having a conversation with a representative yesterday, and, the question came up with, well, what if this person that beat me turns out to be a conservative? And I said, well, first of all, they're not a conservative. Never were a conservative from the very, very beginning. But second, if they start voting conservative, then we have to win the argument because we know that it's not real. We know that it's an attempt at re-election in 2 years, and they have to back up what they're saying, with smoke and mirrors. So you got to win the argument, and that's what I'm saying here. Just because you're a Republican or a Democrat don't believe the dogma. make sure that you understand why it is that we believe the things that we do and why those arguments are right. But just to be tribalistic, that's ridiculous, and it's going to get you caught in a whole bunch of hypocrisy, just like a bunch of people on the right that are supporting the actions of Senator Bo Biteman right now. You're going to find out that those folks you put your faith in, they've been redcoats for their entire time in the legislature, and they're probably going to be redcoats going forward. Let's go ahead and take another call. We've got Jerry in Rock Springs. We haven't talked to him for a while. Merry Christmas, Jerry. How's it going?
Merry Christmas. It's going good.
Excellent. You all ready for Santa Claus Day?
I sure am. For the first time in about 4 years.
I'm feeling pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I am. And, we have so many redcoat rhinos. And people, they just keep believing what they have to pitch. But every other time they say something, they uncover that red coat that they wear. I mean, in the Republican Party, we need to start accepting disagreement. We fought the liberal Marxists so long that we think everyone is a Marxist. So, and I'm talking about me.
Okay.
And because one day I'll read or listen to something, and the next day, they're telling me something different. But it seems to all work out, and we got to trust in what has happened because we are so very blessed right now. And this Christmas, we have so much to be thankful for.
I could not agree with you more. And before the election, I mean, I was cautiously optimistic. I mean, deep down, I knew that Trump was going to win, but you always have that fear. Okay, what if the election's rigged? What if something happens? And even if
I was scared he wouldn't.
Yeah, even if Donald Trump hadn't won, I mean, it would be a horrible disaster. But let's just say that he hadn't won. We are still the most blessed country on the face of the planet, and
Amen.
Even the and I said this at church yesterday. I was talking with someone and I said, even the poorest among us is far more wealthy than most of the people on the planet. I mean, you're still wearing a pair of tennis shoes, and you probably got a cell phone, and you probably have a car. What an incredibly amazing and blessed country we all have the privilege of living in. I mean, I think we should all just thank God that we were born here and not some far-flung place on the other side of the planet.
That's right. It's been a long time since I wore a hand-me-down set of shoes from my oldest brother.
Absolutely. Well, Jerry, what do you got planned for Christmas? You staying home with the family, or are you guys going to go somewhere, or what do you got going on?
No, we're staying home with the family. We got kids coming in from Cheyenne, and hopefully they all show up. But we're going to have a great time.
Excellent. Yep. The lovely Christine and I, we're going to have a quiet Christmas. Of course, it's our first Christmas being married, so it's kind of special for us. So we're going to do a little family stuff Christmas Eve, and then Christmas Day, we're going to do our own thing.
Well, I hope it's a very blessed day for you.
Thank you much, Jerry. You have a Merry Christmas.
And God bless you, and God bless our republic.
Yes, sir. God bless you. All right. Absolutely. We do live in the most blessed country that the world has ever known. And, even at our lowest point, we are blessed beyond measure. Like I said, when I was talking to Jerry, all of us probably have a pair of tennis shoes, and we carry around a cell phone and got, pretty nice clothes, and most of us have a car, which is way more than you can say for a lot of people in this world. So we live in an amazing place, and absolutely every single person has something to be thankful for. Now, of course, we all want it to be better. We want to create a better life. We want to be more successful, make more money, provide for our families more. But I think it's important just to take stock of what we have. It's what I said at the very beginning of the program, that Christmas isn't about stuff. Christmas is about, the reason for the season. So anyway, keep that in mind. Now, I've got about 6 minutes, 5.5 minutes left in the program. If you want to be part of the show, the phone number is 307-374-8989. That's 307-374-8989 if you want to be part of the program. We've got a few minutes left, so go ahead and give me a call if you want to call in. Let's see here. Did you hear that Donald Trump says we might take back the Panama Canal? Now, this one is interesting in a lot of ways, because whether you realize it or not, Panama has been charging U.S. companies like hundreds of thousands of dollars to transverse the Panama Canal. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. And, the reason why he said maybe we should take it back is we're not getting a fair shake, and we're the ones that built it. I've got another story down here in the stack of stuff, how Trump has actually embraced the Monroe Doctrine. And, and he has. The Monroe Doctrine says we're going to handle the stuff on our hemisphere as long as the folks over in Europe, you stay the heck out of our stuff. That's what the Monroe Doctrine is. But fascinating stuff. Trump taking back the Panama Canal. Let's go ahead and take another call. We got a few minutes left in the program. Darcy from Casper. Merry Christmas, Darcy.
Merry Christmas to you and the lovely Christine.
Oh, I will tell her that you said so. How's things going?
Things are going pretty good, but we've got some concerns about solar panels. First, I thought it was just Natrona County, but it looks like the feds want to turn our whole state into a flammable fireball.
Yeah, I saw that map I don't remember which article I was looking at, but it looks like they wanted to put solar panels all over the whole state. And I mean, that's obviously something that Biden would want to do. Nobody believes that Wyoming even exists anyway. So why not slap a bunch of solar panels down?
I figured it's his punishment for Wyoming voting for Trump.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of these things, I have to believe that, like the Rock Springs management plan, this dumb solar panel idea, all of this stuff is going to be in file 13 once Donald Trump steps into office. At least I hope so. I mean, a lot of these proposals would absolutely kill Wyoming.
They would. And there's one that we're fighting that's going in west of the airport here in Natrona County, 2,000 acres, but it's going to be a couple million solar panels.
Jeez.
I mean, doing research on these things are toxic. They will destroy the quality of life and put a threat on the well-being and the health and safety of the citizens of Natrona County.
It's interesting you say that, because for a long time I was on the board of the dump in Johnson County. And the one thing, we had a long discussion about solar panels, and there are so many heavy metals in panels that we just decided that we can't accept them, and that you have to take them to a hazardous disposal site, because they really are terrible.
They are. So I was a little alarmed when I saw Wyofile and Oil City and Cap City put out these articles about the feds wanting 31 million acres throughout the West and over 3.8 million acres in Wyoming to turn into solar farms.
Yeah, well, like I said, most people in Washington, D.C. don't even think that anybody lives in Wyoming. So why not throw down a bunch of solar panels?
Right. Yeah. But just wanted to make sure people are aware of that and the threat that it has to our way of life here, our ecosystems, our way of life, our ranchers, everything, tourism. It's going to have a negative impact. So people need to kind of wake up and fight it. But I really hope Trump kills the subsidies and take things out. That would be a wonderful Christmas present, in my opinion.
It would. And, just to let everybody in on it, I've got a bunch of research that one of our listeners sent me. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a deep dive into this whole solar panel business. So after the Christmas holiday, I'll do a little bit of a report on them, and we'll find out exactly who and what is behind these things. Well, Darcy, you have a Merry Christmas. And
you too.
Enjoy your time with your family.
I sure will. You too, David.
All right. God bless you.
God bless you too. Bye.
All right. Yeah. Solar panels in Natrona County. That's turning into kind of a big story. And I've actually got quite a bit of a research done on that. And like I say, one of the Cowboy State Politics listeners sent it to me. So after the holiday, then I'm going to do a little bit of a deep dive, and I'll tell you all about these solar panels. Well, we've burned through another busy broadcast hour on the program. I want you and your family to have a very Merry Christmas. I'm going to do the same. And just take stock of what you have. Be thankful for your family, for the things that you have, and do something nice for somebody else. You know, there. Even though we're blessed, there's people that are hurting. So remember remember the reason why we celebrate Christmas. And for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson. Merry Christmas, my friends.